shine that light is to bring some folks along with you next week. And we got, yeah, I guess interesting. We're going to be in the book of Matthew here in just a moment. We're going to talk about Palm Sunday, triumphal entry. But first I have to insult lawyers. And I have the number of friends who are attorneys, and they tell some of the best attorney jokes. Nobody likes a preacher to tell preacher jokes. Attorney is actually happened in court. Actually happened in court. What was the first thing your husband said to you this morning? Witness. He said, "Where am I, Kathy?" Attorney, and why did that upset you? Witness, because my name is Susan. Attorney, this myasthenia gravis, does it affect your memory at all? Witness, yes. Attorney, and in what ways does it affect your memory? Witness, I forget. Attorney, you forget. Can you give us an example of something you forgot? Attorney, now, Kelly. Now, doctor, isn't it true that when a person dies in his sleep, he doesn't know anything about it until the next morning? Witness, did you actually pass the bar exam? Attorney! I can think this daughter and this could work. Your youngest daughter, the 20-year-old, how old is she? Witness, she's 20, much like your IQ. I can't read the next one. I can't read the next one. Attorney, she had 3 children, right? Witness, yes. And how many were boys? Witness, none. Were there any girls? Witness, Your Honor, I think I need a different attorney. Can I get a new attorney? Just amazes me. If you speak in public long enough, you will say every stupid thing there is, so I give them a break. Attorney, how was your first marriage terminated? Witness, by death. Attorney, and by whose death was it terminated? Witness, take a guess. I'm not sure there's, I better leave that one. Doctor, how many of your autopsies have you performed on dead people? Witness, all of them. The live ones put up too much fight. This is how Margaret would respond. Attorney, all your responses must be oral, okay? What school did you go to? Witness, oral. I can just see you going, you said they had to be oral. Oral. What's your name? Oral. Attorney, that last one. No, I got 2. Do you recall the time that you examined the body? Witness, the autopsy started around 8:30 p.m. Attorney, Mr. Denton was dead at the time. Witness, the doctor. If not, he was by the time I finished. How many of you are used to religious preachers and you don't know what to do with this one? Last one, promise. Attorney. Doctor, before you performed the autopsy, did you check for a pulse? Witness, no. Attorney, did you check for blood pressure? Witness, no. Did you check for breathing? Witness, no. So then it is possible that the patient was alive when you began the autopsy. Witness, no. Attorney, how can you be so sure, doctor? Witness, because his brain was sitting on a desk in a jar. Attorney, I see. Because the patient has still been alive, nonetheless. Sometimes you just won't give up on stupidity. The doctor, witness answers, yes, it is possible that he could have still been alive and practicing law. Jesus and his disciples are approaching Bethlehem. Have that here? There we go. Starting at the 30th verse, chapter 26. I'm in the wrong place. Let me find my right spot. When they'd sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Jesus told them, this very night you will all fall away. You will, how many of you? All fall away. On account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered, and after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. And Peter said, even if everybody else falls away on account of you, I won't. I tell you the truth, Jesus answered, this very night before the rooster crows, you'll disown me 3 times. And Peter declared, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the other disciples are pretty much on the hook, don't you think? And they say the same thing. If Peter's going to say, I'm not going to fail you, then we can't fail you either. Let's all go to a circus. I said at the beginning of the service, and you thought it was a joke. Well, actually it was. About circuses and goat ropings and how funny John was. And you've never been to a goat roping. You've been to a circus. Yeah. I can do better. You're going to see Jesus and these guys are coming toward Jerusalem, toward this event that we're going to talk about here just as we take communion in a few minutes. And they're on their way to Jerusalem, and they're actually coming into Jerusalem at a circus atmosphere because it's Passover week. See, this is our Easter week, and it's based upon the Jewish Passover. We really don't. Christmas is set because they set it for whatever reason. Some people have a problem, religious people have a problem with, it was some heathen festival or something, and they had to match. I don't care why the church set Christmas when they did. We celebrate Christmas to honor the birth of the Savior, and but if other people do it for other reasons, that's their problem. I kind of think we're in the redemption business, and there's some stuff we ought to buy back. Some stuff that was done for wrong purposes or set up for wrong reasons, but maybe we ought to just buy it back, redeem it, make it mean something. And so I have no problem with that. This is a holiday atmosphere. It amazes me as I watched Christmas season and now Thanksgiving in holiday season grow to a whole week. People used to get off for Thanksgiving. And you go to work on Wednesday, and you'd work all the way to quitting time on Wednesday, and you'd go home, and Mom would do whatever she does to get ready for the next day, and if the family could get there, they'd try to be there for Thanksgiving, and they'd show up, and we'd all eat all that turkey, and then have a tryptophan nap. And go back home, and go to work the next day. Now Thanksgiving gets stretched over 2 weekends and a week for many people. And it's just kind of accepted that it's a week-long holiday. And Christmas through New Year seems to have done the same thing. It seems to have stretched. Well, Jewish holidays were that way, but they were that way for different reasons. They were that way primarily because they were all settled and done around Jerusalem. And the people were a migratory kind of people, and they lived out in the country, farming and raising animals, sheep, whatever, and doing that sort of, and it took time to get there, so they only did it a few times a year. They didn't go to the temple every week, because there's only one temple. It was in Jerusalem, and it might be several hundred miles away. So they went there several times a year on special occasions, the most important of which would have been Passover. And that's what Jesus and his disciples are doing in Jerusalem for this week. That's why they're there, for all of the events that are going to happen that we're going to celebrate in the next 8 days. It's a holiday week. They're heading into excitement. Everybody's going to see people they haven't seen since the last big holiday. And then Jesus comes over the mountain. Everybody's excited. He's recently raised Lazarus from the dead. They know about that. And here he comes, and he sends 2 guys to go and get him a donkey. You didn't think we're going to... If you went and got a donkey, they went and got a donkey, not her. And they brought it back. It's just amazing that Jesus says, "Go get me a donkey." And they go, "Okay." And they go do it. Later on, they tell him, "Go see this guy on the corner and tell him you got a room prepared for the master to celebrate Passover. Tell him we'll be there," and make and they do this stuff. And it's just miraculous. Somebody told me, and I'm not sure it wasn't Juanita many years ago, told me that when it said the colt full of an ass upon whom nobody had ever sat, that this thing's not broken. It's not trained in any way. And yet they bring it to Jesus, and they put a coat over it, and he sits on it, and it goes docilely down that mountainy hill, and then up the other side and into Jerusalem, carrying the king. Here comes the king. Conquering kings entered cities on great white stallions. But prophets entered cities on donkeys. Here comes the king. The misunderstood Messiah. They wanted the king. They threw, I'm not going to throw it. Well, I might. No, it's in there pretty good. Palm branches. They coats, outer clothing, jackets. They spread it on the rocky thoroughfare. And they're all excited. And they all think that Jesus is coming to defeat the Romans and set them free, and they're half right. Because he came to set them free. But Jesus is not political. Let me just say that one more time. Can I sit down for a minute? I won't be down long. I have friends on both sides of the political aisle. I've had people say, you know, Jesus would vote for so-and-so because he's a Christian, or he'd vote this way because he's a Christian. In the first place, there's no reference that Jesus ever voted for anything. Secondly, he studiously avoided the political pressures of his day because his kingdom was not of this world. He was the king of something else. I think Christians should be aware of the issues of the day, and they should certainly vote want to take a guess, and you might be right. But I've kind of voted the way that I do business. I don't hang around with people who aren't truthful. I don't do business with people who use trust. And when people say integrity doesn't matter, they're wrong. I would rather be around somebody who would tell me the truth when it was something I didn't want to hear than somebody who just lied to me. I don't accept that well. Jesus is a non-political Savior. He didn't come to save the nation at this time. He came to save the hearts of people. People like you and me. And they wave the palms. And you need to understand that the palm branch was actually a political symbol because it was on their coins. Because they couldn't have an engraved face of anything on there because of their belief about idols and worship. And so the palm branch signified freedom to the Israelites. So they were making a political statement. But Jesus never partook of that. The significance of Palm Sunday is this. This is the day the Israelites, the people in Jerusalem around the temple, that early in the morning of this day, they would go to the marketplaces and they would choose the lamb for the sacrifice. How many of you remember Buddy the lamb from last year? They would go to the marketplace and they would pick the perfect little lamb. Check it carefully. No blemishes, no chewed up ears, the most perfect lamb they could find. And they would take that lamb, pay the vendor's price for that lamb, and they would take that little lamb home. We're talking little lamb. Kind of like our little fuzzy buddy. They would take it home, and the instructions were that they had to take that little lamb home and let the kids play with it for 3 days. You know the first thing the kids are going to do with that little lamb? Name it. Michael calls Buddy Pocket Lamb. Fuzzy does. I named him Buddy. Not nice Buddy. They named him. And little Sarah and Susie and whoever. Did that little lamb bad? No, they brushed it right. And the male or the Garrett or the Scott family would probably play with that lamb. Told people I carry Buddy around with me a day or so a week. Said he ruined my reputation as a tough guy. Kim says that my wife with us next to him. Fuzzy dog. They're all attached to this little lamb. Thursday morning, Daddy comes and says, say goodbye to Pocket Man. So they do this every year. Remember. So all the kids gather around Pocket Man. Pocket Because I named it. It came to live with them. That's significant. Daddy picks up pocket lid. They're just... Hey, I had to have a 14-year-old lab put down last summer. I was a little better with this one than I was the previous one. I told the little gal, I'm a mess. I don't act this way with people's eyes. But to be professional about it, I'm involved. Daddy takes pocket nap. He goes on to the temple, goes up those big steps, and all the other dads put their pocket nap too. Go up the steps, and one by one, as they're approaching the temple, they see the smoke rising up from the altar. They hear the bleating of the other animals. Comes his turn. The priest will take the little lamb, check him to make sure that he's suitable for sacrifice. Place him in that little stocks thing, and the priests were very good at their job, and there wasn't, it wasn't like, animals died, but it wasn't a cruel, unusual thing. It was as kind as it could be. And they stick drug dealer here. Almost the animal's dead. While the animal is dying, Dad had to stand with his hand on the animal and feel it shuddering death as he confessed the sins of his family. Because without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness of sin. It's personal. I can't watch The Passion of the Christ. The scene we're going to show Friday night, it's so personal that I almost have a fight or flight thing that happens in me. It's personal. Little pocket lint. You deserve this. He didn't do anything to this. Little pocket lint. You're going to die because you're a sinner. And then, do you think the story's over? The priest would butcher up a little animal. He's a lamb. Or not. It's a lamb. And he would take the cuts that were necessary for the sacrifice, and they would be placed to be burned as an offering to God. A sacrifice has to cost you something. Because God is Son. Smoke would rise up before God. And the rest of the animal Dad would take home. And now you get to eat pocket lint. You're going to roast pocket lint. And you're going to sit down. And you're going to take that lamb. And you're going to, and it all has to be consumed. It's a lamb. And you're going to remember the deliverance of God was only possible because something innocent died. Jesus ruled with his tongue. The words of John the Baptist ring. Behold the Lamb of God that takes away These are the symbols of our lamp. These are the symbols of our lamp. Whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do demonstrate the Lord's death until he comes. This bread is my body, which is broken for you. Eat it. This cup is a new covenant in my blood. Last will and testament signed in blood. Whenever you drink the cup, you demonstrate his death. Blood was shed in the temple. People took the food. And with every bite, they remembered that something innocent died. Or something was guilty. But what I've received of the Lord, I give unto you. The Lord Jesus, our Lord, was betrayed to prayer. He broke it. He said to you, this is my body. It's broken for you. After supper, he took the cup and he said, this cup is a new covenant in my blood. Whenever you eat this bread, drink this cup, demonstrate my death. If you are a Christian, this is your favorite. We got it from the Lord. He gave it to Paul.